Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of Caribbean Football Weekly, season 3. I'm Simon Preston on the Google Hangouts version. Alongside me, I have Santoki Nagalendran. Santoki, how are you?
I'm good, Simon. Thanks for asking. Enjoying a lovely Sunday in London. Just come back from the FA Cup, watching my beloved Spurs get a crucial victory. So, good Sunday for me, all in all.
Nice one, nice one. Interesting tie you have in the quarterfinals as well. You'll be coming up against Millwall, who has Jamaican international Sean Collins, who also scored this weekend in that 1-0 victory over Leicester. So, interesting clash ahead. Do you reckon Spurs can get to Wembley this year, whether the semi-finals or even the final?
Yeah, well, it's Spurs, so I don't want to ever speak too soon, but we stand a very good chance. On paper, we should beat Millwall, and then that will get us to Wembley. So I'm very optimistic as it stands. But as I said, it is Spurs, so I will not let my hopes get too high.
Yeah, well, anything is possible. It's the magic of the FA Cup and still some big teams involved. So you never know. Let's see what will happen. So before we get into the gist of discussion today, is there anything news your side, Santoki, you want to get into before we get into the two major talking points for our discussion for today?
Yeah, just one bit of news from my side. Trinidad and Tobago have announced that Dennis Lawrence will start his coaching era with a game against Suriname on Friday, the 10th of March. So he's going to be using a local base squad, and it will be the first outing for the new coach and his assistant, Sol Campbell. So it'll be very interesting to see if the Soca Warriors can get revenge on Suriname, who eliminated them from the Gold Cup in January.
Yeah, quite interesting match that they do have ahead of them indeed. It's you could say their last dress rehearsal before the World Cup qualifiers. Santoki, when you look at this encounter, do you think it's a good test before they play the likes of Mexico and Panama in the World Cup qualifiers at home?
I'm not sure. I think it's a good test for the local players, yeah, to get their fitness up, to get a bit of competition, especially with the Pro League having finished a few weeks ago. So in that respect, I think it will be a good test for the local players. Whether it's going to prepare the squad for the likes of Mexico and Panama is a different story altogether. Suriname, with all due respect, are not on the same level as those powerhouses. And so I think it'll be good for match fitness, but in terms of preparing them for those big games, it's still going to be very tough, in my opinion, for Trinidad to come out of those two games with any points.
Understood, understood. Anything can happen in the hexagonal final round. They do have some crucial home fixtures ahead, and I feel if they're unable to get at least 3 points, then I think the campaign, this little bit have slim chances, you could say, in progressing in the campaign. So. Yeah. Our first topic for this evening, we'll talk about Jamaica versus Honduras, a magnificent 1-0 victory by the Reggae Boyz, using 7 local players to start with. Santoki, were you able to catch any snippets of the game, highlights, or even the goal that was scored?
Yeah, I did manage to catch the highlights. Jamaica did look very impressive. They had a few chances throughout the game, and I felt, yeah, they looked very comfortable. Excellent performance, but satisfactory, I would say, from Jamaica. Would you agree, Simon?
I would say satisfactory, yes. If I had to give their performance a letter grade, it would have to be a B. I still think that we were quite resolute defending wise, but we did invite a lot of pressure on us as well, where we had space just behind our midfielders and the back four as well. So I think it's crucial that we tighten up that space as much as possible as we move into the Caribbean Cup, because you look at a team like French Guiana, they have space to exploit as well. So it's an opportunity for us to tighten things up. And I think the local players, even Coach Tappa Whitmore said himself that the local players have given him sort of a headache in team selections where it's concerned as we're preparing for the Caribbean Cup. Some of them has acquitted themselves quite well. Notably, he made mention of the two 19-year-olds who made their first start for Jamaica, Shamar Nicholson, who is a top scorer in the local Premier League in Jamaica, and alongside him, Jordan Fletcher, who had an immaculate season with Cornwall College in schoolboy football. So you could say those few bright sparks he was quite impressed with. However, I still feel moving forward, especially for the Gold Cup, we will need a bit more experienced in that tournament. Would you agree where that is concerned?
Yeah, definitely. I believe they would need some experience. In this squad, you did have Romario Williams and Corey Burke, who were slightly experienced, but they will need a bit more experience once they play the bigger teams in the region. I was impressed by the young players. Also, Kevin Lambert in midfield, he impressed me. He caught my eye from what I did see. And I believe it was the first senior goal for Damien Lowe, was it not, for Jamaica?
That's right. Yes, that was Damian Lowe's first ever goal for Jamaica. His father even scored against Honduras. His last goal for Jamaica came against Honduras. So quite interesting and very pleased for Damian Lowe indeed. Yeah. So overall, moving forward, you're looking at the teams left in the Caribbean Cup. Do you think Jamaica wants to win tournament or the interest of still the course?
Hello. 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 I think you've broken up, Simon. It's kind of cut off.
Yeah. Go ahead and speak. Yeah.
Hello. Okay, a bit of technical issues there with Simon, but we're going to continue now and talk about CONCACAF Under-20 Championship, which started on Friday and is featuring 5 Caribbean teams. So very interesting for football in the region. Now, Group A kicked off with Mexico against Antigua, and Mexico got a 3-0 win against the Antiguans, which, as Simon and Nathan predicted last week, was to be expected, with Mexico being the strongest team in the region at the under-20 level. They've won pretty much every championship. So a much, I believe, for Antigua, and something that they shouldn't be too disheartened about. I mean, going into this group, you'd expect them to lose to Mexico realistically, and the points are there to be picked up against Honduras and Canada. So it's time for the squad to refocus and put their energy into qualifying. There's still a chance. So all is not lost for Antigua and Barbuda. They're still in the group. Also, then we moved on to Group B, and Haiti, I should say, who we predicted would be an attacking threat. They certainly lived up to those expectations with a 5-1 win over St. Kitts and Nevis. Now, that group has also thrown up a surprise with the USA losing 1-0 to Panama. So a very open group. And also, Panama means that Haiti, I believe, have a stronger chance of progressing now as group winners, which would be amazing for a Caribbean team to do that. Today's game saw Bermuda play Trinidad and Tobago, and that finished 1-1, which you'd say both teams would be very disappointed about, only gaining 1 point from a tie which they would each see as winnable. So 1-1 for Bermuda and Trinidad, and this tournament remains open. Okay, so it seems like my co-host Simon has had technical issues, so he'll be leaving. He won't be able to rejoin us on the show, so I'll just continue wrapping up the news. So yeah, the CONCACAF Under-20 Championships continue for the rest of this week. With games every day, so we'll update you about that on the next show. Also important to remember, the CONCACAF Beach Soccer Championships start tomorrow, held in the Bahamas, and that's going to be lasting all week. So it'll be interesting to see how the Caribbean teams fare. I'll naturally be hoping Guyana can get a win. They'll be playing in the feature game tomorrow against the host Bahamas. And finally, on Wednesday, Group A of the CFU Club Championships takes part. So that's the CFU Club Championship takes part on Wednesday. We have the group with Hoppers from Antigua, Bakura United from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, from Suriname, and Racing from Haiti. So a very open group. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. Unpredictable with club teams in the Caribbean region as to who's in form. But Inter from Suriname are a very experienced team, so you'd have to say they were favourites going into this group. Groups B, C, D, and E continue throughout the rest of March, and we'll see 5 teams in the final round, including Central FC as well, who will be the host for that final round. So a lot of Caribbean action happening this week. And so definitely myself, Nathan, and Simon will all be here, hopefully, with no technical issues next week to discuss what has occurred throughout these tournaments. And hopefully we'll have a lot of quality football to talk about.
Hello?
This is Santoki Negaland. Yep.
Oh,
hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, just before we sign out, I just want to ask you your prediction for Jamaica versus Guyana in the Beach Soccer Championship.
2-0 Guyana. No, actually.
Ooh.
4-1 Guyana. 4-1 Guyana.
4-1. Because, you know, in beach football, you tend to see a bit more goals than usual.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, it's not going to be a 2-0. So, yeah, 4-1.
All right. You know, if it's interesting.
Yourself?
I'm going to go with 6-5 on Jamaica's side.
Oh,
just
a classic.
Yeah. But, you know, it's interesting. You have had more game experience when you went to Barbados recently and played action. So I think that would help you immensely. Are you confident?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we picked up 2 wins. We got a win over Barbados and Antigua last 2 games. So definitely carrying a bit of momentum. As you said, the team's been camped now for 3 weeks, I think, in a row, consecutively. So definitely got a lot of experience. But, you know, I'm never going to write off the Jamaicans. They seem to have the jinx over us.
Yeah. I only have one question coming in from the Reggae Boyz forum. Somebody wanted me to ask you, do you think that Guyana should have used professional footballers to play in this tournament? Like, for example, a Chris Nurse or, you know, one of those sorts of players?
I don't believe that they should have used overseas-based players such as Nurse or, for instance, Sam Cox, just because those guys are used to playing at professional standard and would have clubs that they're currently playing for full time. But with Guyana, with players being semi-professional and also there not being specific beach players available, I think they could have gone with Guyana national players. I mean, if you look at Gregory Richardson, he's Guyana's. He's kind of stopped playing football at the moment, and he's only playing futsal or street soccer. So I mean, someone like that, for instance, I don't see the problem of implementing him into the beach soccer program. So yeah, I mean, it's a surprise that they have opted not to pick anyone from Guyana's elite league or known players. But let's see if these players who are specifically trained in beach soccer can be successful for Guyana.
Okay. Any reason why they call him Jackie Chan? I always hear him call him Jackie Chan. Do you know why he got that nickname?
I think it's because he has a lot of he does a lot of tricks, a lot of stepovers, and he's always scoring with the volley. So like the flying kicks, kung fu. He just linked to Jackie Chan. Yeah.
Wow.
Very memorable name.
Interesting. Are there any other Guyanese players that you know of that have those sorts of interesting nicknames or anything funny like that?
Nothing. I believe most Guyanese players do seem to have a nickname which they've carried on from childhood. I know that Anthony Abrams, who's a national striker, he's known as Awo.
Okay.
There's a few others as well. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but most players, if you go on the fan forums or talk to fans, they'll call them by their nicknames rather than actual professional names. So someone will say to you, "Oh, did you see Jackie Chan's performance last night?" rather than saying Gregory Richardson. So that's just something carried on from childhood.
Yeah. I'll tell you something interesting. There's a Jamaican player who plays locally. He's made his debut for Jamaica. His name is Lamar Nelson. And his nickname, I'll spell it out for you, Wanka. I think you know what that means in England.
Wonder how he got that nickname.
I don't know. I don't know what action he did, but that's what he's got.
Oh, God. Can't beat Caribbean football, man. Very original.
Yeah, there's always something exciting to talk about, I tell you, when it comes to Caribbean football. Always something interesting. Can you imagine if it was a Jamaica and Guyana advancing to the quarterfinals? That would be something, though.
Yeah, that would be very impressive. I mean, it's hard to tell. I mean, we've discussed this on our last show, what level the teams are at, because beach soccer is not something which is frequently played throughout the Caribbean. So you never know who's in form, who's got the momentum. As you said, Guyana has played in the competition beforehand in Barbados, but so have Antigua, Barbados, Trinidad, and Tobago. So, yeah, I mean, those teams you'd expect to be a bit more ready, but with beach soccer, anything can happen.
Okay. All right. Well, I really appreciate your time on the show. Hopefully, we'll have back Nathan next week. And for all of you Reggae Boyz fans, don't forget to subscribe to Reggae Boyz Commentary and check out Home of Caribbean Football for the latest episodes of Caribbean Football Weekly. Santo, anything you'd like to say before we go?
No, just thanks to all our listeners for contributing to the show with their positive feedback. And any questions, just send them in and we'll address them next week when hopefully Nathan should be back and we're ready with a 3-man attack once again. Okay, viewers, take care and I'll see you next week.